A few months ago, I asked you guys to give me your biggest jailbreak hot takes. Well, today I decided I'm finally going to react to them and give my thoughts on your opinions. Of course, the whole spirit of this video is finding where we disagree and reacting to each other's unpopular opinions, but that doesn't mean we have to be disrespectful to one another. If you have your own jailbreak hot takes or disagreements, feel free to leave them respectfully down below in the comments, and I might react to them in another video if this one does well. This video doesn't have a strict structure to it or a strict order. I'm just kind of gonna go in order of least unpopular opinion to most unpopular opinion. If you enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. The first hot take we're gonna discuss is a pretty popular opinion. The robbery system sucks! In the October 2023 update, the devs changed the robbery system to work in cycles. Basically, 3 robberies would be open at a time, then after that, another 3 robberies would open. Many people are not fans of this change because they believe it makes it harder for them to get money, grind for hyperchromes, or complete contracts that require specific robberies. And while those are definitely valid concerns, and I understand why people are mad about the robbery change, I'm gonna disagree with this hot take. I think the robbery change was a good thing for Jailbreak. For one thing, it gave more attention to robberies that usually got neglected. For example, the trains. If I saw the museum and the trains were open and I had to pick which one to go to, I'm obviously going to go to the museum. However, if my only options right now are the train or other robberies which might have already been robbed, then I'm gonna pick the train because there's nowhere else for me to go. And second, the decrease in player income is debatable at best. And even if it is there, I think it was necessary to get criminals on a level playing field with the cops. Therefore, I definitely disagree with this hot take, and I don't think it holds much merit. Next hot take comes from Harold, where he says trading was a bad idea for Jailbreak. Many people only love/hate items because of value, black markets, and trash YouTubers. Now, while I do agree that there are problems with Jailbreak trading, ultimately I think it did way more good than harm. Trading is something that if you don't care about, you can easily ignore. I don't care about trading at all, and it does not bother my normal gameplay. However, if you are into trading, there are several safeguards in place to prevent you from getting scammed, and I think in comparison to many other games, Jailbreak executes trading really well. I like that it offers people a way to get limited vehicles that were previously unobtainable, and in terms of sheer numbers, it did the game a lot of good since it brought in a whole new set of players that are interested in trading, and it keeps the community more active. So I'll have to disagree with Harold here. I think trading, while there are problems with it, ultimately does more good than harm. Next, we got a couple hot takes from Osowix. First, he said Jailbreak current thumbnails are garbage. Now, while I wouldn't go that far, I do agree that the current thumbnails aren't that great. A lot of the current thumbnails are just poorly made. A common example is the thumbnail from November, where instead of getting a picture of an avatar on the Falcon bike, they just put the Falcon bike picture over the avatar picture. The older thumbnails definitely were better made in my opinion, so although I wouldn't go as far as this user and say that the current thumbnails are garbage, I do think the older ones were better. His second point is that people stopped playing Jailbreak not because the updates are bad, but because the game is not well optimized for potato PC users. And I agree with him on this point. I think one of the biggest issues Jailbreak has is optimization. This has been an issue for the game pretty much its entire lifespan. The game is just really demanding in ways that other Roblox games are not. I remember when I had a tablet, I just couldn't play Jailbreak. It was pretty much impossible. The game was really laggy. I think this is one of the biggest hurdles the game has in attracting new players, and it's an issue that is kind of under discussed when people talk about problems Jailbreak has. Unfortunately, it is a very difficult issue to deal with. The devs have certainly tried their best to optimize their game as much as possible, but unfortunately, it is not easy to deal with this problem. And lastly, he says trading sucks, which is something we talked about already, so I won't talk more about that. Next hot take comes from No Good Nick, where he says the army heli is overrated. He still thinks it's good, but not as perfect as it is made out. Now, I'm one of the people that absolutely loves the army heli. I ranked it pretty high on my ranking of the best vehicles in Jailbreak, but he does provide pretty good arguments here. He compares it to the Little Bird, and he discusses how the army heli is far bigger than the Little Bird and gets shot down in the same number of hits, and it takes longer to recover. I think I'm a little bit more biased towards it because I'm a YouTuber and I often play with many people, so I often need to use the extra seats in the army heli, and it is very convenient. But otherwise, he's kind of won me over here. The little bird isn't that much slower, and it arguably provides more benefits since it's harder to shoot down. Next hot take comes from Franco Redbird, where he says default looking customizations are unironically one of the best ones you can use. You know what? I'm gonna agree here. There's a lot of really cool customizations out there that really enhance your vehicle, but sometimes going the simple way is the best route. Sometimes people needlessly overcomplicate things or add too much stuff to their car, and it just doesn't look that good. In this case, less is more. Next hot take came from a couple people, and this one I definitely agree with. The 1 million dealership should have stayed in Crater City. Now, some of you might not know this, but in May 2022, the devs moved the 1 million shop to Crater City. However, after a lot of backlash, they moved it back to the town. In my opinion though, Crater City was a better spot for it, since Crater City is very bare bones compared to the rest of the map, and the more stuff it can get, the better. And two, the $1 million shop has some pretty powerful vehicles, so players should have to work a little bit hard to get them, particularly the drone, which is pretty fast and hard to shoot down. Crater City actually wasn't that far out of the way, but it still added enough of a nerf that I felt was justified. Next opinion comes from Phoenix, where he says new jailbreak is better. I 100% agree with this hot take, and I think after the 2024 live event, a lot of people agree with this as well. Many people always reminisce on the past days of jailbreak and mention how much they loved playing back in the day, and many people have requested the devs to restore the game back to OG jailbreak. But really what people miss is their mindset and the feelings that they had when they were playing, not the actual state of the game. By all objective measures, the game was worse whenever you were playing it in the past. When I first started playing in 2018, there was not that much to do. If you got all the vehicles, you were done. It was a pretty good goal, but there wasn't much else beyond that, and most of the vehicles did not look very good since the devs' modeling skills weren't as good. And of course, the cop team back in the day used to really suck, and it took years for the devs to finally fix it. When OG Jailbreak was brought back for a month, it died off really quickly as players realized there isn't that much to do in an older version of the game, and that's certainly how I felt. Yes, I have warm feelings for the time that I first started playing as well. I definitely felt some nostalgia hits when I replayed OG Jailbreak, but I am very happy with the current state of the game, and I significantly prefer modern day Jailbreak over OG Jailbreak. Then Joss expresses his belief that it's pointless for the devs to add normal-ish vehicles, and he also mentions the same for vehicles that are more unique, since a lot of the players won't use them and they'll end up using some of the more meta or more effective vehicles. Although I really like the vehicle variety and I've mostly appreciated the unique vehicles we've got added to the game, I do think Joss has a point here. I appreciate these vehicles and every now and then I like to use them, but when I'm playing the game normally, I want a reliable vehicle that has really good acceleration and a really good top speed. So I'm gonna look for that when I'm using my vehicles. And I think that's how the majority of the player base operates as well. I don't really see a major problem with there being so many vehicles, even if a lot of them go unused. I don't think it's really harming the game in any way. Since you can favorite vehicles, it's not like your garage gets cluttered up. And the option is always there if you want to try something different and have a more unique driving experience instead of using what is reliably fast and efficient. However, I do grant that Joss has a fair point. In a similar vein, the theater thinks that hypercars are bad for the game. They cause severe imbalance since most of them are locked behind a big grind and people without them are significantly outclassed. I 100% agree with the theater here. If you are a noob or a mid-level player and you're facing off with an opponent, whether it's a cop trying to chase you or a criminal that's evading you, if they have a super fast car, it's going to be near impossible to catch them at your level. I think it's beneficial since it helps you learn and adapt, and it makes you become a better player as a result. But it is a big learning curve, and I know so many people that tried playing Jailbreak but quit because a bunch of people were way better than them and it just wasn't enjoyable. I think the perfect solution to this is something I suggested in one of my recent videos: income-based matchmaking. Basically, players will be matched up with other players in servers with a similar value. If you are a noob and you only own vehicles that are under 100k, you'll only be put into servers with other people that only own vehicles under 100k. That way you have a threat that's appropriate to your skill level, and this also works the opposite way, since a lot of richer players don't have to face that much of a threat since they're often when facing up against noob cops or noob criminals, but with income-based matchmaking, they'd be put into servers with highly skilled and richer players, so they'd have a bit of a tougher time. Next opinion comes from Typical Galaxy, where he says limiteds are bad and shouldn't have been a thing. He further elaborated to me privately, where he discussed that limiteds bring in a FOMO factor, fear of missing out, if you don't know what that is, that he felt made the game less enjoyable. And a lot of people simply don't have the time to get every single vehicle, and a lot of players will feel like they're missing out. He also thinks it's annoying for newer players who joined after a lot of these vehicles were available and don't have a way to get them. He also thinks that trading is too unreliable of a way for people to get retired vehicles. I do see where he's coming from, but I fully disagree with him here. I'm all in favor of limited vehicles. Vehicles are the main thing that keeps me playing Jailbreak, and I think it applies for a lot of people. I feel the opposite here, because I feel that a grind for a vehicle that's going to leave soon actually makes the game more fun. It doesn't make it draining. And usually the grinds are reasonable enough and have enough time to where I feel I can feasibly do it. I don't feel super strained or anything like that, but that's just my personal experience. He brought up seasons, but I feel like seasons are the perfect counterexample to this. You have so much time to do them now. This current season is going on for 3 months, and you don't have to spend that much time in the game per day to get your XP. Ever since the devs implemented this recent season system, you can just get XP from playing the game normally. So if you want, you can just pop in the game, camp the prison, arrest a few guilty prisoners, and then you'll have all your XP for the day and you can just leave. I don't think that's too much of an ask at all. With this system, you don't even need to do your contracts, so I don't really see why it's a problem. Also, I get that new players might feel like they're missing out, but the truth is they're not missing out on that much. The limited vehicles are cool to have, but I don't think any of them really provide that much of an advantage. They're just cool things to own. There are already permanent vehicles that you can buy that have incredible stats, and the permanent ones outclass pretty much every single limited hypercar that we've had. I'll use the most recent limited, the Scorpion, as an example. It has the best top speed in the entire game, but the truth is you're never going to reach it 99% of the time, and the handling isn't the greatest. So I feel like if you're encountering a player using the vehicle, even using the Chiron or the concept car will be enough to counter them. Finally, to address the trading point, I don't trade, so take this opinion with a grain of salt, but I think the current difficulty to unlock limited vehicles through trading is fine enough. It doesn't seem that unreliable. I think it's fine that newer players will have to work a lot harder to get limited vehicles than people who were playing back then. It just seems fair to me and to all the people who are playing, because otherwise, why do the season and why do the grind for the limited vehicle if you can just play later and get it with a similar level of difficulty? So ultimately, I don't think I agree with Typical Galaxy, though I understand why he thinks this way. Then we've got a couple steaming hot takes from Gleaming Colt. First, he says that contracts were not that bad. He's referring to the season system that the game had from season 1 to season 16, where the only way to get XP and grind the season was by doing contracts every single day. Although I didn't think they were as bad as many people thought, I still didn't think they were great. They were really repetitive. Many of them were very tedious and unfun, since they had you go out of the way to do a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't do normally. Overall, they were just a really annoying way to do seasons. I think the way contracts are currently implemented is perfect. Now you get XP from playing the game pretty much normally, as you get it from arresting or robbing locations, and contracts serve as a really nice supplement. Every week you have a set of contracts that I feel is appropriate in difficulty for the time you are given to do them. You don't need to do them. In fact, you can complete the season without touching a single contract, but they're there to help you speed up your season progress if you want. Ultimately, I think the season system we have right now is almost perfect, so I fully disagree with his opinion here, but I do appreciate that he was brave enough to share it. Then Gleaming Colt says that he thinks the Veyron looks good. I'm gonna keep this pretty short. I fully disagree. I think the Veyron is pretty ugly and doesn't do the IRL version much justice. I don't fault Asimo for that, because it's one of the very first cars that he modeled, but it's very dated by the time and by current Jailbreak vehicle standards. I'm sure a lot of you love the OG look of many vehicles, and a lot of you think the Veyron looks fine or even incredible, but here I just don't like it. For the penultimate hot take, we have a pretty scorching hot take from JTSF1, where he says the Deja Vu update was the worst update in Jailbreak history. This update came out on September 6th, 2020. It added the Deja and the Ray, and it nerfed the jetpack pretty significantly. It also did a lot of team balance, and it fixed a bunch of bugs and glitches. I fully disagree with this hot take. I don't see how this is the worst update. It's pretty small, sure, it doesn't add that much, but for what it does add, I think it's pretty good. The Deja is a very good starter vehicle. The Ray, not so much. It's in a pretty bad spawn point, so it has ended up being pretty unused. In fact, it's one of the most forgotten vehicles in the entire game. But I liked the team balancing. In fact, I think the devs should have went a lot harder with the team balancing. This update implemented the current paycheck system that cops use, and I think that system is still quite flawed, and the cop team still did not make very much money after this update. However, I was super happy with the nerfs to the jetpack. I think they were very much needed. There's nothing that bad about this update that makes me even think about putting it in the top 10 worst updates, much less the worst update. That spot will likely always be for OG Season 4. This update only added a fall map, a season with only spoilers, no vehicle prizes, and that was pretty much it. This was the game at its absolute lowest point. It was the culmination of several lackluster updates, and it was so bad that it led to the cancellation of seasons entirely for a year until the devs implemented a new system. OG Season 4 was bad on its own merits, but these other factors behind it make me always have to put it as the worst update. And that's actually a perfect segue to our final hot take of this video, which comes from ePhoenix. He thinks that OG Season 4 was better than Season 4 that we got all the way back in June 2021. And yeah, I'm not gonna go on my epic rant again, but I fully disagree with this. Season 4 was much better than OG Season 4 because number one, it didn't last that long. It was only around for 2 months. Number two, it rewarded a pretty good vehicle in the Rattler, while OG Season 4 had absolutely nothing. And three, the prizes of OG Season 4 were still available after the season had finished, which made grinding that season completely pointless. And that just didn't apply to the contract Season 4. The only thing that I think OG Season 4 did better than new Season 4 was the actual grinding system, since you could get XP in OG Season 4 just from robbing or arresting, while new Season 4 relied on contracts, which wasn't a lot of fun. But besides that, I think OG Season 4 is worse in every other way, and it is also bad because of the effects it had on the season system, which I already discussed. But that is gonna wrap up my discussion of your jailbreak hot takes. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with any of the opinions that anybody shared today? Do you have your own jailbreak hot takes or unpopular opinions? Feel free to leave them down below in the comments section. Let me know if you'd like to see another video like this. I might do one if there's enough popular demand. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you like and subscribe. Use code YouTube NoobFreak at any jailbreak ATM to get my tires in the game. Join my Roblox group and Discord server, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night. Goodbye.